I am back in New York. I just got back from Washington, D.C. a couple of days ago, and I cannot wait to tell you all about my adventure. I was with the Space Exploration Alliance, which is an umbrella company that has about 9 other organizations under it, which included the Planetary Society, and that's how I got involved. So the full name of the event that I went to was called the Space Exploration Alliance Legislative Blitz. There's about 90 of us, and we had 176 meetings total with different representatives in Congress. So it'd be either the congressmen and women or their staff, or it would be with senators themselves. And we would go around to their offices and we would discuss NASA's Transition Authorization Act of 2017. So day one was, as soon as I arrived, we were split into different groups. So it was me and 3 other gentlemen. He was part of the Navy, one was in the Air Force, and the other one is a musician in Brooklyn. So it was really cool. And then there's me, I don't even know what I am anymore. It was a really great, diverse group. So we were first trained on the act itself and all of our different talking points. So day one, before all of our meetings, started out at a briefing that we did at NASA headquarters in Washington, D.C., where we discussed the space policy. So now, upon arrival at about 7 a.m., we found out that the NASA Transition Authorization Act was removed from the calendar. So this was quite interesting because obviously it was supposed to be discussed that day by the administration and by the House on whether or not they wanted to sign the act. So it ended up getting removed from the calendar, and we obviously were searching around a bit in all of our meetings to try and find out why exactly it was removed. They said that the administration, this was the first authorization act that they would have ever signed, and they wanted more time to look it over. And as soon as we started with our meetings, it was great. So we sat down. It was quite personal. It was in just the congressman's office, and it was me, my 3 colleagues, and then the representative or the congressman themselves. Then right away we would jump right into it. We'd say, hey, we're huge space fans. We think this is important. We're just Americans that want to come here and discuss this on our own time. We are volunteering our own time to discuss this to our congressmen and congresswomen of the United States. So talking point number 1 was, yes, about going to Mars. Why is it important? Well, we found water ice, we found canals, we found mountains, we found all these different elements that can be transformed into oxygen for us to breathe from the surface of the planet. It is a very much alive planet, and we can definitely, sustain life on there or migrate over there, and we can colonize. We can essentially colonize Mars. We've been analyzing it for over 3 decades now with different rovers and landers, and I think that we've analyzed so much that it's about time that human exploration went there. However, some parts of the US that we should be visiting the moon first. So we had EM1, which was going to just be going to the moon. However, now there is some discussion about putting humans on it, which was funny. As soon as we announced that we may be putting humans on the EM1 mission to the moon, Elon Musk announced on the first day of my Blitz at 4 p.m. that he is going to be sending humans on a lunar trip in 2018. Right now, our last planned mission for visiting Mars with a rover would be in 2020, which is when we're going to be taking a massive drill to drill into Mars and analyze more of its core and analyze more of its elements, its surface. So it's very important right now to try and have more robotic missions going to Mars to analyze more of the surface, to understand a lot more, as much as we can, before sending humans for obvious reasons. 1, safety, 2, preparation, 3, we can already get the ball rolling of colonization there, like starting up plant life, starting up an atmosphere, oxygen. It'd be very important. Then we also spoke about other explorations within our own solar system, like Europa. A lot of representatives did know about Europa and that there is an ocean of water underneath its icy surface, and so they do agree that it is very important to be exploring to this moon and to analyze it, because there is a potential for life being on this moon. And this also brought me into other solar systems. So obviously a lot of them got very excited about TRAPPIST-1, and they said that they do agree that this definitely needs to be on top of the list for when the James Webb Telescope gets launched in 2018. Now we're gonna bring it back into Earth and lower Earth orbit. So the International Space Station, the place that unifies our entire planet. So we expressed how important it is to have international relations with other space agencies that we work with. There are so many out there, and it's extremely important because this is how we are united as a human species. This is how we're going to advance more as a species is working all together. So right now we actually use the Russian Soyuz capsule to launch astronauts from the United States into the International Space Station, and also to bring them back. However, it's costing a lot of money. It costs millions of dollars to do each ride. It makes more sense to take that money and put it into creating our own launch system, which would bring me to the SLS, known as the Space Launch System, which also a lot of representatives were for the Space Launch System for a few different reasons. One, using all the money that we would be spending using another country's launch system, we can be spending in creating our own launch system. The next reason is if things were to happen in the political world, if things weren't to go so well with people that we work with, at least have our own way of getting our astronauts back from the International Space Station so that they're not stuck up there. This thing is so much money goes into all the separate states that do research on the Space Launch System. So you have lots of different researchers, jobs, facilities that are, building the Space Launch System. And so it's bringing money into each of these specific states. So before our meetings, we would analyze each of our representatives, and we would look at their states, what committees they're part of, and then also how much money is going into their state from NASA for multiple different things, including the Space Launch System. And so then this would also bring me into STEM education, because so many universities that are getting grants from NASA, paid like professors from NASA, are doing research on the Space Launch System. So me personally being a student who is part of STEM, and I also was part of STEAM, if you guys don't know what that is, it just stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Mathematics, and STEAM with the A just means also arts. So I don't know if many of you guys know, I was a split major in college. I started out as a political science major, branched into being a physics major, doubled up with a theater major, minored in dance, and also astronomy, because the astronomy department was just starting to get built at that time. So I got to discuss how it benefited me. I was under the NASA Space Grant, also the NSF grant, and then CUNY stipend. I got to discuss my research. Then there was a lot of other really important things my colleagues would discuss. He was part of the US Air Force, so he would discuss national security. He would discuss how NASA has been one of the leading space agencies of the world, being the leaders of technology and advancing and aeronautics, astronautics. Lastly, we would discuss specifically each state that we would be talking to as far as the representative from the state, how NASA's technology ended up benefiting the state's income. So how much money was spent in the state by NASA, whether it was on STEM education or it was on different technology that was built. For example, a company that was in Brooklyn called Final Frontier Designs, they were part of a Centennial Challenge that NASA holds, ended up creating a new space club. NASA is now going to be using their designs and their technology. So this is NASA spinoffs, and I got this at NASA headquarters when we had our briefing in the morning. And right in the middle here, it would show the United States, and it would show each of the different states that had created or developed or had technology spin-offs that came from NASA. So NASA spin-off technology means, for example, like the Hubble Space Telescope, when that was launched, all the images were blurry. They weren't coming out super clear like this. And so NASA got together all their best computer software engineers and just dissected the issue, and then they ended up figuring it out. And through figuring this out, they were able to use the technology that sharpened the images for Hubble to see these beautiful things. And now we're able to use it in mammograms. So now we can detect breast cancer many years earlier, much sooner detection. So we met with New Hampshire, and so we discussed miniaturized vacuum pumps playing big roles on Mars and Earth, and this was developed at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Creer Inc., which was in Hanover, New Hampshire. So that got, of course, the Hanover, New Hampshire representative very excited because this was actually made in their own local state. So that was very exciting. And so one thing I actually got as far as feedback from a lot of the representatives was that they said that NASA needs to do a better job in advertising their job opportunities, and also advertising how much their technology has really been benefiting people here on Earth, because a lot of people think of NASA and they think like, oh, going to the moon, going to Mars, going wherever, and they don't actually think about, oh wow, my cell phone, GPS, that was all originally created through NASA. So that has obviously, you know, been my mission personally. Like, I'm trying to communicate and translate everything that's going on in the space sciences, and, you know, tell the rest of the public about it, who doesn't listen to podcasts all the time, or who don't read a lot of articles about what, you know, is going on in science and technology these days. So I do agree, and I think that NASA really should do a lot more to reach the general public, reach the mainstream. And I think that that's why NASA Socials was first created, which is what I was part of, because it's about targeting social media users, which is where, you know, the younger generations are today. One of the representatives we met with, who was from Montana, he was talking about how his congressman actually goes around to schools and will list out like all the different job opportunities that come through pursuing a career in engineering or astrophysics. Or quite interesting, because, you know, a story I was told a while ago by my old mentor was that he had a grad student who was going through you know, a whole process of working for the FBI, and that they had scouted her out because she had an astrophysics PhD, and that she was used to handling so much data. She was used to dissecting issues, programming, coding, breaking things apart, like hacking things. And, you know, you really do learn a lot of this through a lot of science degrees. And I think that a lot of people are discouraged at a young age because maybe you're not good at math, or maybe because you felt like, oh, this is not applicable to everyday life, where really it is. And so it was such a great experience for me when I did get to go down there. I did not get to hang out with Bill Nye the Science Guy. I know a lot of you guys have been asking that. And just kind of like speaking personally to our, you know, the US government and to our Congress, and telling them what is important. I mean, it really goes a long way when you can just speak to them face to face and tell them, you know, that, hey, like, you know, of course I'm a space nerd, I'm a space enthusiast, I love this stuff, but like so much more of the American population agrees that this needs to be continued, and that this funding must continue. And actually a lot of people were shocked to find out that NASA only gets less than half of 1% of the federal budget, which is quite interesting. It's still fine, where, you know, NASA's not asking for any more, like, they're totally cool, but over 75% of the American population thought that NASA got maybe 5% of the federal budget. They get 0.4%. And they all agreed that it should be increased. I agree that it should be increased, because imagine what so much more we could do. It's really such a great opportunity to be able to speak on behalf of the Space Exploration Alliance, and then also Mars exploration and the Planetary Society, and just to be able to discuss also on behalf of, you know, the American people who want to see us evolve, and want to see us evolve in technology, and also want to see us explore to other planets and explore past, you know, our own solar system. So yeah, that's about it, and I will catch you guys next time, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!